Hey, you're live.
Good morning. Let us begin by acknowledging that we are gathered today in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral, present, and future territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today, we gather with the intent followed by the Living Peace and Friendship Treaties, with respect, cooperation, and coexistence. We are all treaty people. I call this town council meeting of August 15th, 2025 to order. I will begin by asking for approval of the agenda. Councillor Carver, and second by the deputy mayor. All those in favor, signify aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Acceptance of the minutes. 2.1, regular council meeting of July 1st. I will take are there any errors or omissions? Councilor Wilson?
Just to know that it's July 31st.
July 31st. Did I say August?
No, July 1st.
Oh, July 1st. Okay, sorry. Thank you. July 31st, 2025 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Pufferman. Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Just to note, we do have regrets from council fee. Announcements by council members. I do have a set of tickets here, kindly sent by the South Shore Summer Theatre for 2 tickets to go to their performance, which is taking place August 20th to the 23rd at the Bella Rose Art Center in Clayton Park. If there is, be sure you are going to go if you take the ticket. That's my only, I will, there are 2 tickets, so you can talk to me after the meeting if you're interested. Okay. Probably any other announcements by council?
No, particularly there is the opening of the portrait gallery on Saturday, tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, we were just discussing that a little while ago. We didn't know if it was by invitation only or if it was public, so.
It's the invitation to the museum anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And an invitation to members of council.
Yes,
Yes.
okay.
but we didn't know if it was a public.
Oh, no, it's not.
It's a private.
It's a private thing,
Okay.
nevertheless.
If I may, I'll just add to that, the Mahone House of Portraits is a private collection of Canadian portraiture. And the gallery is being opened by the granddaughter of Ned Harris, who arranged for the current Anglican church building to be built and designed by his brother, the eminent architect Winston Critchlow Harris.
Oh gosh,
That's
a mouthful.
It is.
A Mahone Bay history fact.
Yes, a Mahone Bay history fact. So that's part of the reason why she was attracted to opening her gallery in Mahone Bay, because of that family history.
Okay, that's great to know. Any other announcements? Some of us were at the presentation gifting of the memorial bench for Elaine Mosier on Monday. A lot of gratitude to Kelly, our town clerk, who arranged all the details of ordering the bench and all the details that go with that. It was well attended, and it was a very tasteful and very calm and wonderful event to be part of. So that was, thank you, Kelly, for everything you did. Perfect placement of that bench. So we hope everybody will use that bench for quiet time and just being able to have some time to meditate and sit and enjoy nature and our beautiful town. So moving on, we will go to the public input session. Is there anyone here for the public input session? Okay, would you like to again state your name and civic address and do your presentation?
I'm Derek McGrath. I live at 133 Pleasant Street. I just have not a concern, but try to clarify. I was very happy that you passed the Nova Scotia Disability Act for the patio, and I watched a little bit this weekend. One of the things I hope that you will consider is there's two ways to approach it, and it's going to be a council's decision and a political decision to do it. I guess the maximum decision would be not to allow the sidewalk to be used as a patio, or the minimum amount is to allow the sidewalk to be used as a patio, but not to be blockaded as a sidewalk. And that's all I'll say. You have one maximum thing and a minimum thing, and you will probably have to decide, I hope, in between, because it's the kids were trying to take bicycles through this week, and people with strollers, it just isn't a workable solution without the full length of the sidewalk being able to be used or not used. So that's all I will say, is that that's your consideration. It's a political decision, and I don't know if there's something from the province that would stop you from doing one or the other, or even the blockage of the road, but I think it should be resolved as amiably as possible, but it's not a good situation of trying to use the sidewalk and senior citizens. And those, I guess, are the two alternatives: one, to block, not allow the sidewalk to be used as part of the patio, or to use the sidewalk as part of the patio, but not to block the sidewalk as used as a sidewalk. And I hope you will consider that. Thank you.
Thank you for your, is there anyone else who's interested in addressing anything? No? Well, thank you for your presentation, and we will go on to the presentation. We'll start with Marlene Dory, who is here from the Kidney Foundation of Canada. Welcome to our council meeting.
Well, it's an honor to be here, Mayor and council members. And I represent the Kidney Foundation of Canada Atlantic Branch. We have 6 staff people in all of Atlantic Canada. I always say we're a lean, mean fighting machine. And we work as a team to advocate and provide programs and services and raise funds for the kidney community that we're privileged to serve. So I'll just say that I live in Middle Lahey. We have 2 other staff members in Nova Scotia, and they are responsible for events in Atlantic Canada. We have 2 staff people in Newfoundland, and that's where our administrative head office. The staff all work from home offices, so to keep our administrative costs low, and we do have a staff person in Prince Edward Island. My role is major gifts for Atlantic Canada, and so I'm very fortunate to live in this beautiful community. And I'll just start with my presentation. Thank you for your time today. And the Kidney Foundation of Canada has been in existence for over 60 years. First slide. I have to sort of get into my routine here. And we have been the voice for kidney patients. The foundation stands behind all those affected by kidney disease, by championing changes in the healthcare system and increasing public awareness of kidney health, organ donation, and alleviating the burden of kidney disease. Our vision is committed to achieving excellent kidney health, better quality of life, and a cure for kidney disease. And we're a national volunteer organization, and we say that we are committed to eliminating the burden of kidney disease. We do that through funding and stimulating innovative research for better treatments and a cure, providing education and support to prevent kidney disease in those at risk, and empower those with kidney disease to have optimum kidney health. We advocate for improved access to high quality healthcare, and we increase public awareness and commitment to advancing kidney health and organ donation. And next slide. Recent stats. 1 in 10 Canadians are affected by kidney disease. 1 in 3 in the Indigenous and Black population. The leading cause of kidney disease is diabetes. 46% of new patients are under the age of 65. Kidney disease knows no age barriers. Over 6,000 plus Nova Scotians are living with kidney disease. 50 plus people are on the transplant list. I was at a recent presentation, and the fact that Nova Scotia has a new policy around organ donation. One of our nephrologists said Nova Scotia is very lucky to have a very short waiting list for the gift of life, which is a transplant. So that policy has made a huge difference in this province for anyone that's on dialysis waiting for kidney disease or waiting for a transplant. Next slide. We provide peer support and short-term financial assistance. And the peer support programs help people through the emotional challenges of kidney disease, and supports the overall health of the kidney community. We've seen a great growth in Atlantic Canada in our peer support program after COVID. We offer online support groups, and we're able to reach the kidney community in urban and rural areas to a greater extent than we've ever been able to do. We provide short-term financial assistance. That's probably our flagship. In Atlantic Canada, the majority of people that we provide financial assistance to live in an income of less than $15,000 a year. We work with renal social workers across the province and across Atlantic Canada and across Canada to provide that support. If you consider a person on dialysis has to travel at least 3 times a week for 4-hour sessions on dialysis. Currently in this area, until we do have the new dialysis beds in Bridgewater, they travel wherever they can get a bed. So they travel to Halifax, they travel to Campbell, they travel to Liverpool. So with the price of gas and living on $15,000 a year, they have to have a special diet. They can't go to food banks. They're sort of in a catch-22. A lot of the foods in food banks are high in phosphorus and sodium. So they have to make the choice to eat and not feel well and not follow their kidney diet, or not to eat at all. So as a foundation, we want no one to have to make that choice. So that program is one of our most used and active programs that we provide. And we also, next slide, provide kidney health resources. We have educational materials to people with kidney disease, as well as sending those to hospital dialysis units and the public. They're free of charge to anyone living with kidney disease. We have unit partner outreach, which means we meet, provide information, and build relationships with doctors, nurses, social workers at each of the dialysis units in Canada. We have lunch and learn sessions, and we have an update on research package, which highlights our recent projects that we're doing in Atlantic Canada. Next slide. And we have a mental health 101 virtual library. And it allows access to short yet informative presentations in collaboration with Canadian health professionals of different backgrounds and specializations. Another resource that's used a lot by the kidney community is our Kidney Community Kitchen. And it's free and easy to use. And it makes food and cooking for people that have such a limited diet much more attractive and is a great resource. We have dietitian approved and kidney friendly recipes available. We have a meal planner linked to the Canadian nutrient file, and you can submit your own recipes to be reviewed by a dietitian to make sure that they're kidney friendly. And we have you can ask nutritional questions from our dietitian, and you can also discuss diabetic exchange amounts because a kidney friendly diet is good for someone that has kidney disease only. But as I mentioned, so many people have diabetes, so their diet would be different because they have to combine, what's required by diabetes as well as, what would be required from their kidney diet. And we also, do have a lot of people that have heart issues related to kidney disease. So this resource is really good for the caregivers as well as the person with kidney disease. Next slide. And I'm so excited. For the first time, I'm going to Camp Lots of Water. It's at Brigadoon, and we do provide funding for children across Atlantic Canada to go to the camp, and it's just wonderful because it allows them to see that other people have kidney disease and they just can be kids. So I'm excited to be able to go there tomorrow and meet some of our kids. And also we have an advocacy focus. Advocacy is so important. As I said, 1 in 10 Canadians and 1 in 3 in the Indigenous and Black community have kidney disease. This translates into 4 million people. And despite its prevalence and the rapidly increasing number of people with kidney disease, it's not recognized as a chronic disease in Canada. Even in its early stages, people diagnosed with kidney disease experience profound changes to their physical, financial, and mental health well-being. In many cases, they need multiple medications to manage their conditions and have strict dietary and fluid restrictions. If it progresses, they go into kidney failure and they will need 1 of 2 life sustaining treatments, dialysis, or a kidney transplant. Almost 62% of people with kidney failure in Canada are on dialysis, and 38% have a functioning transplant. Today, more than 53,000 Canadians are being treated for kidney disease. So hence how lucky we are in Nova Scotia. And the next slide. The economic impact of kidney disease is substantial and is growing. Kidney disease costs the healthcare system approximately $40 billion annually. Dialysis is particularly costly. It costs about $100,000 per person on dialysis per year. It's one of the most expensive long-term treatments available in modern medicine. Early intervention and prevention can possibly save the healthcare system over $3.6 billion. So on dialysis costs alone, nothing else, just dialysis. The economic burden of ongoing treatment of kidney disease is compounded by the additional health and social supports required by those living with the condition. The physical toll of dialysis often removes people from the workforce, leading to income loss and economic instability. This drives many Canadians below Canada's low income. As I mentioned, $15,000 a year or less that we provide financial assistance to. People with kidney disease are more often hospitalized and very often have other diseases that require treatment, such as diabetes and heart conditions. Together, these factors and others result in both increased system costs and reduced potential on the part of patients and caregivers to contribute to the economic gain. I think you probably know a little bit about that because Teresa Chase and her son Cody that work here in your office. They're very, very good friends of mine and very involved with Kidney Foundation. Okay, I'll just highlight this. I'm probably going over a little bit. Advocacy, we advocate to enhance access to early kidney treatment, detection, and treatment. We also advocate for improving data collection and monitoring, and we advocate to increase funding for kidney disease research. And we can't do that without fundraising. And we do have a wonderful event that's coming up. It's called Farm to Table. It's on September the 18th. It's at Farm at South Cove. Very generously donated by the farm. It's supported by the corporate community and local community. Almost everything has been donated. We have pig roast, real maritime meal, and we have treasure chests, which are lots of fun. Actually, I'm picking up treasure chest items that are donated in Mahone Bay and Lunenburg and Bridgewater. We put them all together in a treasure chest. We have 3 of them. One is a trip to Newfoundland. Actually, Teresa won it last year, and she's in Newfoundland right now. We have a staycation package, and we have a romance package. So what we do is we sell raffle tickets all evening long. We have Jonathan Crouse as our MC, and we pick 6 people to come to the front, and they're given 3 keys, and they get to open the treasure chests. The winning people that are able to open the treasure chest win it. We're actually almost sold out. We have only 2 tables left, and it's not only a fundraising event. We have entertainment, and it's an awareness event too, and to share with people some of the stories of people with kidney disease. This year we have a speaker that you may recognize, Casey DeLong, and her husband Thomas are going to be our guest speakers this year. So I encourage you to attend. I do have tickets reserved for the mayors of all of the different districts. So if I'll be in touch with your office just to see if you're going to be able to attend this year. We also have a new project. You may recognize this. This idea came to us through Casey DeLong, And Casey, a few years ago, did design an ornament to raise funds and awareness for kidney disease. Casey and I have been working with Amos Pewter, and we've come up with these ornaments that we're going to be selling to raise funds for kidney disease. It's particularly interesting if you look at it. These are two kidneys. The kidneys are intersecting and they represent the gift of life. The butterfly means redemption and rebirth. Amos Pewter has been wonderful to work with, and Sebastian designed this. He did so much research with Casey to give us this final product. So we're so excited about that, and we're going to be part of a Holiday Magic, which is a holiday special on CTV, so we're partnering with them this year. So that's it for today. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, thank you very much for your presentation, Marlene. It's, I'm quite aware of the work that the foundation. I taught Casey when she was a preschooler. Way
She told
back.
me that.
Yeah. So I know Thomas's story, and of course Teresa's. Thank you for your presentation. I think everyone around the table probably has someone close to them who is struggling. I know one of the things that in our area, we used to have a seniors group from the Mahone Center that did a lot of transporting for dialysis. And we had a Lions Club that did, and neither exist anymore. So I know transportation is one of the hardest things here rurally in Nova Scotia for families, and people can't take time off work, 3 times a week to drive a loved one. They are dependent on friends and family and the community to help them with that. And I know it's a huge expense, and as you say, $15,000 a year is not a whole lot to live on. And that's one of the biggest awareness parts that I know, besides needing a kidney, is getting the treatment that will get you to the place where you can have a kidney transplant, right? So anyway, I'll take any questions if anyone's from Councillor Carver.
Thank you so much, Marlene. That was so interesting. I was really struck by the 15,000, and that's 15, not 50.
No.
So it's an extraordinarily low or high threshold, whichever way you want to look at it. And I was just wondering about all the people who are in the next kind of chunk of income bracket who would be struggling with all those costs. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no answer, but
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I just told you the bottom level, but anyone that's goes to a renal social worker and they assess that they need financial help, then they reach out to us. It's totally confidential, so I can't quote you numbers of people in this area, but based on 1 in 10, there's a lot of people in Lunenburg County that use our resources. Luckily, we're funded partially by United Way here. They've been very generous and with our applications and providing some of the funding that we require to support kidney patients, as well as this event that we're having. I have been fundraising for a number of years, and I've never seen an event that brings a community together like this one. Like everything is donated. And we already have over $30,000 in cash donation sponsorships from the local community. And yeah, it's amazing. And, that helps us, fund, our programs in Nova Scotia. But yeah, it's just a fun thing. People love the pig roast. They like, coming together in such a beautiful venue. And they've been so generous to us. So has every business I go to and, ask them to donate something for our treasure chest. Everybody just seems to rally around it, and have a lot of fun. But we really, need those initiatives to be able to provide our programs and services. And that's why we're so excited about this project, because it not only raises awareness, it'll raise funds, so.
Any other questions, remarks? No, well, thank you very much, Marlene. You did a wonderful presentation, so wonderful that, that I think you covered everything for us, so, yeah, our best of luck with the rest of the work you're doing here locally and I'm sure right across the Maritimes, so, I wish you well, and, you just might see me there. Yeah, the date and things, might have anything on that date, I'll have to change my calendar.
Yeah, everyone's welcome. Like I said, it raises funds, but raising awareness is just as important. You can't measure that in dollars and cents. And I have a couple of my volunteers. Our caterer is Hustle Bustle from Lunenburg, and Steve Freeman, one of our sponsors, is Freeman Lumber, and Steve does have kidney disease and his children do. So we're going on breakfast TV on Tuesday morning. So if you're up bright and early, tune in, and you'll see Attila prepare one of her kidney-friendly recipes, and Steve share his story.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Marlene.
Okay, and please, I left this brochure. It outlines what the Kidney Foundation does. You have my business card attached. If you know anyone with kidney disease, a lot of people, don't talk about it. They don't know the support we can provide. So please, please have them reach out.
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you.
just leave now.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, after the Mahone Bay Community Land Co-op.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Dean Waterfield. I'm the chair of the board for the Mahone Bay Community Land Co-op. And do you mind if I just control stuff on top? And I was sitting on my deck this morning, and I look out on the back of the Lutheran church, and I had this view of the sun coming up over Oakland, and it was shining on the on the bay. And I was sitting there getting that meditative state that the mayor was talking about when you're sitting. I had a coffee, it was great. I was thinking about, I was kayaking Wednesday morning out in the fog, out like the islands, Bacchus Island or Covey Island with a friend. We saw dolphins, we saw seals. And then while I'm in this state, then what often happens on Orchard Street this time of year, your world comes crashing down because the excavator is starting to clank past the Lutheran church. Then it blocks out the sun that's coming over, and then you hear the dump trucks cleaning their boxes with that bang, and then there's that incessant beeping of machinery backing up, and Gerhardt's firing up their grader, which spent the night in the parking lot over at the United Church. And then through all that racket, I can hear this loon flying overhead, and you look up and you can see it, and then you realize just how fortunate we are to live in this town. And that's really what I am here today to, in part, talk about, is that you may know that the Mahone Bay Community Land Cooperative, our goal is to develop a nonprofit cooperative housing community in town. And we do have a memorandum of understanding agreement with the town to work together on developing this on what I call the Hawthorne property. And you can see I've put the property identification numbers up there because it's two pieces of land. what is that land that's across from the fire hall? And we have worked together to do a phase 2 environmental assessment. We cost shared it together. And it found that there are some issues in terms of environmental issues on the property. Generally, those are around where the actual works department actually uses the property for storage and some other stuff. And a large part of it, theoretically, we could consider to be clean. And what I'm here today is to, on behalf of the co-op, is to ask the council to work with us to transfer that clean part of the property to us for $1, which will then leverage our ability to start to obtain other government funding, both from the federal government and the provincial governments, to further explore both the feasibility, do the planning and pre-site development, and in fact, build a 35+ unit cooperative development on the property. And so we're going to talk just a little bit briefly about some of the details related to that. You may know that there was a 2023 housing needs study done for the town that did show that the town needs to have at least 70 new units developed by 2032 in order for it to maintain the modest growth that it's had over the past, I think it was said 20 to 30 years. So obviously these units would contribute to that, but also during that time between 2019 and 2020 and 2022, housing costs in town to purchase a house increased by over 80%, which had the same significant effect on the rent that is charged by for-profit rental units in this town. And that the town staff also conducted that 2023 survey of residents who did say that working with nonprofit groups like us to develop nonprofit housing on town-owned land was a good idea. And that brings us to, we are presented with an opportunity as an organization at the moment, and as well, I also believe, the town. Housing cooperatives charge housing at a cost basis. That is, they're nonprofit. So that means when you establish the co-op, you're establishing that housing charge at cost. That is the cost that it costs to administer the complex and pay the expenses like property tax. And that costs don't really change over time unless those expenses change. There is no for-profit rent increase. There is no moving in relatives in order to then raise the rent or raising the rent after people leave. That doesn't happen in a co-op. So the affordability deepens over time, which is important to remember. And in fact, it's such a good idea. There's over 2,000 co-ops that exist in Canada, and they serve 90,000 households at the moment. And the federal government chose, again, feels that it's such a good idea that it has established this $1.5 billion fund to develop additional housing co-ops in Canada as part of its response to the housing needs nationwide. So really, the opportunity here is that we have this clean part of these two properties, and that if it's transferred to us for $1, that allows us to then apply to numerous funding pots. And when we talk about transferring it us to $1, we're talking about it should be a conditional agreement to sell. And that is, we would like to ask council to pass a motion to authorize town staff to negotiate with us what that conditional agreement to sell would look like, with conditions such as we would immediately apply for funding to conduct a feasibility study. And then that study would also have to meet council approval. Conditions such as we would help the town recoup the costs that it's already spent on the property through these funds that we can access as a nonprofit group that the town can't access. We cost shared that phase 2 environmental study, and we got our share from one of those pots of funding. But we could also help the town actually recoup the costs that you had spent through this additional federal fund. The one thing about housing cooperatives, we have to remember it's the people who live in them that democratically decide what the cost it is they're going to pay for their unit. So it tends to also retain and develop community over time because people don't leave this type of rental situation. What we would also be proposing is that feasibility study would be looking at developing these 35 units from a mixed income and mixed demographic basis. It would be for all people. The funds, should we have this conditional agreement to sell, that we can access would be the CMHC seed funding, the Cooperative Housing Development Program funds, Nova Scotia's Affordable Housing Development Program, the Community Housing Transformation Center's Community Housing Growth Fund. We already have a draft proposal that we would be sending them to conduct the feasibility study, should we get the conditional agreement to sell. And as well, there's foundations such as the Catherine Donnelly Foundation that some of us already have relationships with through past work that also provide funds to nonprofit housing development groups. But in order to access this additional funding, we need to have that conditional agreement to sell in place by the fall of 2025, and then it will unlock this funding. In terms of the risks, cooperative development, it's not speculative development. We already have a membership list that's probably over about 35 people already. And in fact, our board does do outreach. And one of our board members was talking with people in the Refresh Center in Bridgewater, and we've got 10 new people who are now interested in and wanted to find out more about co-op. Because there's a lot of people in this area that are experiencing difficulties with their housing or looking to downsize into more affordable, smaller accommodation, which is what can be provided with this type of development. The funding that gets provided by these funds, it's also milestone based. So there are these deadlines that you have to meet in order to continue through the process. One thing we have done for our own risk mitigation is we now have entered into agreement with the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada, who's providing us with an expert consultant to guide us through this process of obtaining the necessary funds, going through the planning and site preparation process, and helping us go through this process. We do have a local design firm, Solitaire Design, lined up. You've experienced some of their work because they're the group that we use to conduct a feasibility study on the old Fireball building. So we feel that we're backed by sector partners and expertise. So again, what we do need from you is this motion that authorizes town staff to negotiate with us this conditional agreement to sell. There could be the requirement to continue a little bit of this phase 2 environmental assessment. When we had a discussion with Dylan and the mayor a couple of weeks ago, we all decided that the initial assessment really wasn't what we were looking for. There's some things still hanging out there, but there may be a creative workaround where we might not have to spend any more money on this that we've been looking into. But this would be one of the conditions that we would want to work with staff on and negotiate in the conditional agreement to sell. And if we do get that agreement, the timelines or the next steps that we're optimistic about would be that we, in early 2026, we would be submitting a funding proposal for pre-development costs. And then that would lead to, towards the end of 26, submitting construction funding applications and construction costs by the end of 2027 and occupancy. And this is based on what our Cooperative Housing Federation Canada consultant is telling us is feasible. Should we get this conditional agreement to sell by group? So thanks, I'm willing to.
Great. Well,
Answer any
I've got a
questions.
couple questions, so
Sure.
I think I'll go first. I've got a Y35 unit, is that figured out to make it sustainable?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes, and that's sort of the red line of sustainability and myself in previous work as a social worker and running programs like this, co-ops tend to operate best at 35+ units.
Mhm.
And part of the feasibility study would have to establish, what density is possible on the site, what type of housing. It would be nice if there were some townhouses for young families, and single occupancy units, but it's really, you really have to go through this process of developing the feasibility study with experts to figure out exactly what is possible.
Sure. So, as the co-op transitions into, tenants.
Mhm.
Does the board composition change to only people who are living in the co-op, or is it a mixture still? Because right now you're all volunteers.
Yes.
Right, but not living in the
That's right.
facility. So the co-ops that I'm familiar with, that and have been very successful, people who are actually tenants make up the board of the co-op. So is that the intention here, or will there still be your body will have some membership, the current membership will remain at least for a transition period or something?
We have a legal structure
Okay,
that allows us to answer to that, yes, all of the above. So that the people living in the complex that's built in Mahone Bay would develop their own board that would govern that complex. We would then look at, there are other opportunities in the area. We would then look at developing other cooperative opportunities. There might be one in town as well, or around town, or between town and Lunenburg, or between Lunenburg and Bridgewater. That's what we would be moving towards doing as well with this type of structure. It also means we can elicit, you may know that there's a cooperative housing development that's in the construction phase in Liverpool.
Mhm.
So the co-op that gets built in Mahone Bay, we can also help them negotiate an agreement with the Liverpool co-op to share the costs of property management, for example. The grass cutting, snow clearing. There's other cooperatives around that might be interested in that type of shared services approach to those to keep costs low.
Okay, and with the $1 sale, would priority be for people from Mahone Bay to have their applications seen first? Or, I mean, you talked about people from Bridgewater, which I'm not pushing that away, but I'd just like to know if we've invested.
Yes.
To me, that's money.
Yes.
Invested, would there be a priority for local residents?
Yeah, I think myself, so I'm one person on the board, but I think the board, I can
Mhm.
speak for the board, would find that as being a reasonable condition in our condition of sale. So this government funding, just like the funding that you got for the infrastructure work that's going on, it ought, federal government, provincial government looks to, well, what's the municipality contributing?
Yes.
So this would in effect be you could say this is our contribution, it's an in-kind contribution. So there wouldn't be any more pressure on you in terms of making contribution to the funds that we're applying to. So it makes sense to me that as part of the residents' requirements that already living in Mahone Bay or having lived in Mahone Bay and wanting to move back, would be a priority. Particularly, I think there are people in town who would like to downsize from a large, expensive home into a more affordable living circumstance.
For sure. Okay, well, you've answered my questions, Deputy, and then Councilor
I just have a couple. The second environmental study, I guess a question for you and a question for Dylan. would the timing of that put any delays on your timeline? Or would you still move ahead and wait for it and see what happens when it comes?
No, it would delay it.
Would, it would
Yeah,
delay it?
and that's why we're trying to work at that creative workaround to get Jim Tech to sign off on a clean piece of the land,
I see, okay,
because that's what's required. You have to have an expert company like Jim Tech give a clearance of
okay,
that type of nature to the
Yeah, if
properties.
they can't get enough land that is clearly clean to be delineated without more testing than getting on site to do geotech, it's probably minimum 2.5 months.
okay. And that kind of, that leads to my second question. Is the clean part on one PID or is it spread on both?
It's sort of spread on both.
Both, okay,
Yeah, so there would have to be some type of rearrangement of the property lines.
okay, I see.
You know, which is what, both that would be part of the site prep in pre-planning. And there's an expense there that we can again get reimbursed
Got it.
from these funds.
And Dylan, I guess this is more of a question for you. Would that second environmental study be covered by the Housing Accelerator Fund?
It would be eligible, yeah, it's just a question of
Okay.
council deciding how to allocate the funds.
I see.
It isn't eligible.
Yes, and then we could also get that covered under one of these fund applications as a reimbursed prior expense,
I
so
see.
long as you keep the invoice, which I know you can.
And that's it.
No, you should.
Well, I had one question about remediation of the part that needs it. Do you have any idea of what that might cost you, or is there a sense check on how you're feeling about that part in terms of as you've done your budget, or
Right.
maybe not?
So we're dealing with provincial and federal governments who
Okay,
don't
so
get
fair
to
enough.
incur expense. So they would tell you that's a municipal responsibility
I see.
because it's municipally owned land.
Okay.
And there are funds through the Canadian Federation of Municipalities that you can apply for. It takes a while,
Okay,
but it's a cost shared fund. Theoretically, and that just further delays things. But in terms of the testing, that's something that we can apply for to get the town reimbursed for.
got it,
It's just not the actual mitigation.
got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor
And I
Copeland.
just had a quick
Oh,
follow-up, just
Sure.
with response to the brownfield. So, I mean, obviously brownfields need to be remediated for certain purposes, like
Yeah.
residential development. But there are also purposes like the current use of it by public works or as green space that don't necessarily require remediation. So, the hoped for scenario is to identify enough usable land
Got it.
to then not have to
Right.
engage in a lot of remediation activities.
Yes, and one of the conditions we talked about is that we would be more than welcome to let Works continue to use that piece of the property that's not part
Got
of
it.
the housing development, and we would have a development that would, have fence or screens that, would keep kids who live there.
But you could put
the Works property.
parking on there, for example, or a garage or
Yeah,
storage.
yeah.
Lots of things you can
Yes.
still do.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Councillor Copeland.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. The concept of cooperative housing is obviously desirable, and I certainly support that part of it. The tricky part comes in transferring town land for $1, which is effectively subsidizes those who live in the co-op against the balance of the town. You alluded to some capacity for the if you were to get it for $1 to recoup some of those funds through the government agencies. Would any of that flow back to the town in other than in taxes?
So the town transferring this to us for $1 would be viewed by both federal and provincial governments is that that's been the town's contribution to us obtaining the construction costs. But if the town experiences expenses in terms of the site preparation, then that is absolutely, we could get that reimbursed through some of these funds. So it's reimbursing those expenses. And then, as how we look at it is that again, by the town transferring this, we are bringing additional customers to both the electrical commission water and sewer and paying the property tax for what would be a substantially sized development.
As with any other development.
Yeah.
This isn't subsidized.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Councillor Carver,
Thank you.
you want to go back over this? Okay, and
So just in response to Councillor Palfreyman's concern around subsidizing certain residents of the town. There is a historical precedent in 2012-ish, when the town for $1 transferred 2 small properties on Fobo, on Foxford Road, to Habitat for Humanity. And there's always been a sense of we have the good intentions for affordable housing, and those properties immediately reverted to the private market. And there's no continuing affordability compared to this model, which ensures the continued affordability. And the same price, $1. It'd be interesting to know what the property comparable property values are now.
Well, Councillor Carter, we could also include a condition in the sale that the property wouldn't be able to be sold on the private market. And that if the co-op administration broke apart for any reason, that ownership would revert to the town.
Councillor Twano and then Wilson.
Thank you. Do you know what percentage of the land needs remediation?
It's a 4-acre site. I'll say an acre might need remediation. So it's the lower strip that Works is using. So, and if you see that lower strip, there's some storage. So there's old transformers there, which have PCB. So that's one of the areas that requires remediation. And then as you move up that strip, there's there are other drill holes or well drills that showed some heavy metals and things like that. And then as you come up around the back towards Hawthorne, an area that's been used as a parking lot. So that's actually on fill. And it's questionable as to what can be built on that. You couldn't build something such as a 2-story apartment building on that. That might be where townhouses could go in terms of the consultations with Solterra, or it could also be where parking would be.
So if you weren't able to move ahead because you needed to clean up and you would own the lands, would you be able to subdivide it just to move forward the places that needed to be remediated and use it as something?
We can't have land that requires environmental remediation transferred to us because that would disqualify it for the government funding. The land has to be transferred to us that has that signed off statement from a certified company, such as certified environmental company like Gemtech, that says that land doesn't have any environmental concerns attached to it.
So if the portions that needed remediation were subdivided or not, well, you know what I mean, like separated from the rest of this, that the clean portion was given.
That's right. So then the clean's okay. And then Works can continue to use the land that they already use for their purposes, because the nature of that work doesn't require an environmentally clean piece of property.
Then do you still have enough space to do the 35 unit?
We might. That's what the feasibility study would determine. So there's a number of steps here in order for us to get funding to complete a feasibility study. We need to have the conditional agreement to sell. And as I said, one condition would be is that the feasibility study would have to meet obviously the co-op's approval, but also council's approval too.
One more. And so if Public Works were to continue using the area that they are storing and working on, would the town have to pay the co-op to use that?
No.
That's it.
Okay, Council Wilson.
Thank you. First of all, I really like the model, as I said before, particularly for the people that own the units, who would be members of the co-op. And of course, the town is essentially agnostic, I think, about what gets built on there as long as we get our tax money. So we're fine with any model pretty much. My concerns are twofold, and one is when you did the survey of the old fire hall, the cost came in at, as I recall, almost $400 a square foot, which was pretty expensive housing for housing in an old upper building. And I'm concerned, I guess, that if we're building on a greenfield, are those costs going to be similar or higher? Because that's pretty expensive housing. The second concern I have, and this really all relates to giving a thing the whole property to you for $1, is we say it's nonprofit co-op, but the reality is that all of these subsidies and whatnot are bundled together, and the membership who own the units actually get a dividend paid as the delta between what the normal rent would be and the rent they're paying. So in essence, your membership is getting a dividend that's untaxed. So my personal stance is it's really not non-profit, it's just profit. It's got given in a different way. So I'd like your comments on both of those things.
First of all, so $400 a square foot construction cost. I was just speaking to a local contractor, Jake Sharp, on some work on our house, and that's what it is. That's the accepted standard now. A new build potentially could be cheaper in terms of Solterre is known for net zero design, so it can be a very tight building, be a very good building from that standpoint. You got to realize that the town benefits from that net benefit to the co-op members. So they're paying less rent, which means they have more money to pay in town to local businesses. Local businesses have the ability to have employees who work for them who live in town. How many employees that work for the town actually live here? It's a real benefit.
Work for 3.
Yeah, it's a real benefit to have people live and work in the town. And it's a real benefit to be able to have that type of housing that is then going to absolutely is going to affect the private market. But let's face it, there's landlords in town now who, they evict people, they invite family in for a 2-month holiday, and that's how they evict people, and then the family leaves, and then they raise the rent and put it back on the private market. So I mean, that doesn't happen with co-op housing, and I think my own personal belief is that to have a healthy town, you have to have all income levels living in it, and unfortunately, because of the cost of housing nowadays, this is what's required to have people who have a lower middle class income to be able to live in town. It's been happening in Lunenburg. The local boat makers, boat builders in Lunenburg are talking about the high cost of housing in the area, preventing them from having employees. I had cousins in town visiting a couple of weeks ago. We were going to go to Mateus. We had reservations in that, but then Mateus called us to say, sorry, we have to close today because we don't have staff. So this is what's been happening with some businesses in town, because staff have to come from outside of town, or they just can't find staff because what they pay is not large enough for people to actually come into town to do the work.
I stopped and talked to someone coming from McLeod, walking home from work. And I said, "Oh, you're off shift?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, where are you off to? And she said, "Well, I'm on the Tanner Road in Lunenburg." She was going to walk the trail, but the trail got closed down and she couldn't. So she was going to have to walk the number 3 highway home. She had no transportation. There was no taxi that she could call. And I said, she said, but I saw a friend drive by in a car, maybe they'll come back. And I said, well, I'll check when I finish my walk, because I took dog walking. I said, I will drive you over. But I said, how are you getting back to work tonight? And she said, well, I'll have to walk. So, those are real stories here in our town, right? I, while we were campaigning, there was a woman going door to door looking for a room, just a room where she could live in Mahone Bay so that she could work at the Tim Hortons. We all hear those stories. They are reality in our town.
Yeah,
And it could be one of our family too,
yes,
someday.
yes.
You know, it's,
Yes.
you don't think you're ever above having hardship in your life or a challenge like that, so.
That's the unfortunate effects of high cost of housing. Creates what usually is a problem you have to solve, but it's, that is finding a new place or an affordable apartment. It's now turned it into a crisis. And the housing needs study that was for the town that was completed by the provincial government did find that with that increase in housing costs, that people who actually live in town with the income level, the median income level in town, and that the houses were unaffordable because they were going to purchase them.
Mhm.
They wouldn't be able to do it. So it's
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Well, thank you,
well, thank you for giving us
for
the
your
time.
presentation, and you have members here that are supporting you, so thank you for coming as well.
Thanks very much.
All
I
right,
hope you all get to enjoy the weather today too.
yeah.
Fortunately,
The fact
the
that-
weather we're gonna enjoy, right?
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, presentations are done. We have correspondences. 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4. Yes, Councilor Wilson.
Your Worship, there are no action items in those elements, so I thought we could move to receive and file.
Is there a seconder? Second by Councilor Twana.
I just wanted to make, if I could,
Yes,
add that the communications committee is working on a response policy for all of us so that we have a standard response system,
Mhm.
just really for the public, so that they know moving forward that emails and correspondence won't get lost or ignored. There's going to be a protocol where we get back to people.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Correspondence
Correspondence.
on
Okay,
the communications committee.
okay.
So
Yes,
just on that clarification, when we receive communications addressed to all of council,
Yeah,
we can assume that will be responded
Yes.
to by, okay.
yeah, that's the idea, that
Yes.
if it comes to everybody, or if it comes to one of us, that there's a protocol where everybody gets informed, there's a individual allocated to respond, so that people don't feel like things come into town hall or to us or to one of us and it gets lost in the fray. So that's the idea.
And we will get copied on those responses.
Yeah, I mean, that's all part of the protocol,
Yeah.
which we've been discussing in the committee with Claire Louise,
Okay,
just to make sure that all of us are informed, but also that we respond accordingly and in a timely fashion, and that people know that messages have been received, even if there isn't an action item, there's acknowledgement, things like that. But all those protocols are being worked on now.
good.
great.
Thanks.
And just to add to that, since
Yeah.
we're on the video, and that does speak to things like where somebody might just have an email or a Facebook message or something, but more to people who want official correspondence on the council agenda, just a reminder that sending that to the clerk at Town of Mahone Bay account is the appropriate way to get it
Yeah.
on there. And, councilors can potentially forward information to the clerk account. If it hasn't been sent there by the person sending it in, there isn't a guarantee that it will appear on the next meeting agenda. So if
Right.
somebody's, keen to get something on the official agenda and they're watching, just to say, the best way to do that is to email at clerk at Town of Mahone Bay, and then they will be circulated to council members as well.
Right, and when the protocol is done by the committee, we'll make sure that there's an information piece either in the newsletter or Facebook or on our new I can never get the name right, Granicus.
Oh, right. Granicus. Yes.
Anyway, thank you.
All right, ready for the question? All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Received and filed, and thanks for that information, Ken.
You bet.
Counselor Kingsmill. Staff reports, 7.1, staff report to council.
Thank you, and as usual, happy to take any questions on the items.
I guess. Oh,
Okay.
go ahead.
No,
Councilor Copeland?
the RLC request, on June the 20th, we had a long discussion about the town's electrical utility, its relationship with area and the potential relationship with RLC, including questions about the financial value of the utility to the town. And I think we agreed that there should be an external study or evaluation of the town's electrical utility, similar to that recently conducted on area. Where are we on this?
It says due October 8th and expected completion September 2000.
No, that's an in-house analysis. I'm talking about external analysis.
Could Councillor Palfreman cite the item that he's referring
Yes.
to? please?
Okay.
Yes, item 1.
Item 1. Okay.
So I could speak,
Okay.
so,
CAO?
yeah, I think, the item one, obviously, as noted, is, as the mayor pointed out, is a different item, and Brian acknowledged that. But it is in relation to the thing he's asking about, so I think, ultimately, we do have a little bit more discussion to be had, and there is some coming up with respect to this specific item, so this motion, this report is expected the first September meeting, September 9th, and council would, I think, probably want to receive that before specifically directing the scope of work on what Brian is talking about. We don't have direction on the scope of work that Brian was talking about. We have discussed it. I think that was council's intention to go in that direction. But I think this report is a public facing report to the September 9th meeting. And then from there, I think council would probably resolve a course of action as per what Councilor Palfreman's talking about. I hope that helps. I'm just trying to keep it kind of succinct because obviously it's a big subject and this is just one item of it.
Okay. Councilor Kingsmill?
I just had a question on the staff report in general, Dylan, and I'm wondering if it's possible or feasible to add where we're at with all of the bylaws that we're doing. Just so that the public knows, like, for example, the reserves policy, or there's other the sidewalk one is in here, obviously, but I know we've got like 10 on the priority list. I think it would be great if the public knew what's number 1, what's number 10, and kind of a rough idea of when those are planned. I don't know if that's
Yeah, I
something.
mean, because normally we take that to, normally we take that to policy and strategy. So,
Right.
yeah, we used to have it on the monthly report to council.
Yeah,
So it's just a matter of copying and pasting it in here. I don't think that would be difficult. If councilors find it helpful, I mean.
I think so.
Shorten the report down a lot, so.
Yeah.
Things as requested, but that would only.
No
add-
color coding and
Table.
20 pages like
Yeah.
last time,
No.
but just to, maybe under this, we have bylaws, work in progress, priority 1 through 10, expected delivery. I think that would be good for the public so that they know these are top of mind and these are what's happening or coming.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it would be any trouble. I'll put a note for September.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the subcommittee on the
Oh, the terms
in terms of reference that we're starting.
for
We've already started. that
audit and
work.
finance. Yeah, there's a lot of interest around a few topics.
Yeah,
That's
sure. Okay,
great. Thank you.
all right. There's no action items here, so, okay, we will move on to 7.2, Rural Transit Solution Fund.
Thanks to the mayor. So this is a good opportunity to tout some of the work that gets done in terms of raising funding for initiatives. This is the second no strings attached 100% funding item that Lauren has brought in the past 6 months. The other one being underway, well, completed now, I guess, it was reported on the last meeting, looking at the flooding at the corner of Clearway of Maine. So this is switching gears, I guess, to mitigation, which we don't talk as much about these days. mostly focuses on adaptation, but this is a specific to mitigation opportunity. And so I think it's just an opportunity to show out this work, and hopefully council supports signing the agreement, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Councillor Carver?
Thank you. I certainly support the idea. I just had a question about the wording in the proposed motion. To execute the agreement, is it an agreement or an application?
So we actually received the funding award, so this is
Well,
just
okay.
a agreement to accept the
Yeah.
no strings attached funding, yeah.
Excellent. Well, in which case I would be happy to make
And-
that. Oh,
Oh, I have a question, which I guess I should have asked when we met on the other day. They will be, will there be new parking spots for these vehicles? Or will they use ones we already have? And if we have, how will that affect our parking situation?
I would say that's probably one of the questions to be answered within a study like this
Okay.
one. I think our initial idea at the staff level was that we now have a lot of public chargers,
Mhm.
and that could be an asset for a car share program.
Mhm.
Because if there was a car that was on one of those chargers and somebody could then pick it up from there, that might work out well.
Okay.
The existing chargers are pretty well utilized, they're not fully utilized, certainly like up at the fire station, for example. You don't get a lot of people on that one, so I don't think at this time that even if we were to use the existing charging infrastructure, that it would really leave anyone not able to get a charger.
Okay,
But yeah, those are certainly getting into the weeds questions that would be answered
Okay.
within the study.
okay. And programs like this, I'm very familiar with car share. I've been involved, in my earlier life. How connected would ours be to the car share program, like the central, for oversight if we were to initiate a program, or is that something we look
It's
into?
very much what the subject of the study
Okay.
is about. We have previously gone out with a call for special interest and spoken with Car Share Atlantic on a couple of occasions
Okay,
about their willingness to sort of pilot the next phase around Metro. So they've indicated that they're getting better saturation with the Metro. I'm not sure they're gonna love the recent provincial decision to intervene on the HRM's planning strategy around EV charging. But I think generally speaking, it's just a matter of time until they're ready to look at places within the 1 hour commute radius of Metro for
Right.
expansion.
right,
So, one of the options is, it's certainly an easy one that we've considered, partner with a company like that to encourage them to have the vehicle located in Mahone Bay. That's the really simple way to approach it, but we'd actually have to look at that as part of the
Okay.
study.
all right, just wanted to know that. Anybody else? Oh, Councillor Carver.
So, first of all, with extending appreciation to staff, Laura and Clark, for having hunted down and achieved these grants, which are so important. I would move that council confirm that the town of Mahone Bay meets the requirements of the Canada Rural Transit Solutions Fund Agreement, and that the CAO or mayor is authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the town.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kingsmill. Any discussion? Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, and my apologies for not having read this ahead of time, but it wasn't available when I was available. But reading through it quickly, am I understanding it correctly that this is about a $50,000 study to determine the feasibility of some kind of a car share program? If I could just summarize it that way, and that's basically what we're agreeing to here.
Yes. All right, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Staff report 7.3 Edgewater Street landscaping plan. You might want to click on that one so you have it in front of you.
I would start off here by thanking all of the various community members who came out to participate. I know that you were at those sessions, as was Councillor Carver, and there may have been others who came to one or two, so sorry if I'm not shouting at everybody here, but I just wanted to mention that the landscaping working group for Edgewater did consist of representation from Edgewater businesses and property owners, Coastal Action, the Three Churches Foundation, Festivals, Mahone Bay, the Garden Club, Communities in Bloom, Talking Trees, and the Chamber. So definitely some good community representation over 3 meetings to put together, generally speaking, the plan that is presented here. Obviously, it had to be run back and forth with the project engineers. So there's some couple of minor deviations from things that the group might have originally had in mind. But I do think that this plan is reflective of, generally speaking, what everybody wanted to see. And putting it forward for council, happy to answer questions. I will note that there's no cost attached to anything here. So, approving a plan at this level still will, and it notes in the report, require us to come back with cost items, and council is not locked into having approved costs that you don't have in front of you. And obviously that might change the plan if some of those costs are not things the council subsequently approved. But in order to go ahead and get costing, I'm looking for approval today on the design presented. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Councilor Pulverman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I've raised some of the issues before. The basic plan around the church parking lots, I have no questions about, nor Keddy's Landing particularly, except I don't see anywhere the bus drop off is anymore. But anyway, that's aside. There was certainly a wideish group of people who looked at the landscaping side of the plan. There weren't any members of the general public there, nor was it ever referred to a planning advisory committee in terms of layouts and so on and so forth. The concern is the narrowness of the median between the road and the trail. So if you look at the church parking lots, where the separation between the cars and the road is 6 feet. 6 feet. Right. That's the width between the parking lot and the cars on the church parking lots. On the church side, between the footpath and the road, it's 5 feet. When we get to the highway, it's that wide. So that's the gap between the road and pedestrians, people walking dogs and kids. There's the same amount of space on the water side of the trail. Okay. So then there's the matter of town public works, because there's a fence in the middle of the gap. It shows it right here on the track. So and it's solid, so the grass has to be cut. You can't cut the grass with any kind of, you'd be whippersnippering it all the way around the posts. And on the roadside, the defense between the trail and the traffic and the noise and the pollution is milkweed and a few rose bushes separated by 10 meters, I think it is, for planting. It would seem logical to me that you could have a wider width between the road and the trail. And you can do that by transferring the bulk, if not all, of that waterside 1 meter to the gap between the road and the pedestrians. The fence would still be there. I don't know what sort of fence it is. It doesn't tell us what kind of fence it is. But that way, you'd at least get some degree of separation between the noise and fumes and everything else along that long strip of highway where traffic's traveling at a reasonable speed. It's not slowed down by being in town. And I view it as a danger to health and safety. The gap is so very narrow, as is presently depicted on the plan. So I guess that's the bulk of what I have to say about it. I don't know what restrictions there are on access to the trail, because we're calling it a trail, and we have other trails around here which have ATVs on them and the like. What restrictions are there to prevent access of ATVs onto the waterfront trail? I know there isn't a direct connection with the trails, but that doesn't seem to stop ATVs who roam around town anyway. So I don't think I have anything much more to say on that. It's just that proportionately, we have far lesser protection on a faster section of the road than we do to protect cars from parked cars from traffic or pedestrians in front of the churches.
Councillor Carver?
Yes, I just have a question for Councillor Palfreyman, which is, I wasn't clear on where the fence is that he would preference.
It's shown on one of the,
It's on the shoreline stabilization, sorry.
Perhaps Councillor Palfreyman could answer the question.
yes,
Yeah, you should.
it's on the, I'm just trying to scroll and find the map that shows it, the plan that shows it.
Right there.
Oh, that's right, yes, yes. In the first plan depiction, there's a grey, green. Have you seen what I'm looking at?
Piece here.
Is it a fence in here?
It's post and rope barrier.
Post and rope barrier.
But just to point out, if I may, your
Yes,
worship, that bridge on the water side is sloped to get it down to the rock.
Hmm.
So you need dimension to make it possible, so it's not a straight drop off.
That fence.
Because if you move the path over another 3 feet, you're gonna have to go down, straight down into the rocks.
So that's where the shoreline stabilization.
Yeah, the little bit of buffering between the trail and the
Yeah,
shoreline
yeah.
stabilization is really just enough to get the posts of the rope and post barrier, and as Councillor Wilson said, just have it not be pavement on top of loose rocks with like a drop off. I mean, and practically speaking, it may be a meter of sod. I don't think that a meter of sod is really what we're talking about there. I think we're just talking about enough to get the fence posts mounted. And then depending on whether the shoreline is vegetated in any given section, you know, there'll be a merger, I think, of the plantings that come right up to the outside of that rope and post barrier. Just in practice over the years.
Was there any consideration to have a fence on the side of the highway? I wasn't on the,
Yeah, in terms of landscaping, I don't really think that it was discussed. You know, what was discussed was the ability to maintain that 1 meter median.
right,
And so Public Works obviously has reservations about these potential little areas that we could put roses or something in. If it's just grass, then the mower
Right.
and the tractor can come along and do that quite easily. If it's going to have occasional plantings in it, then that becomes, you know, more tricky to break up the work and kind of go around
right,
each of those.
right.
So that isn't actually like, wow, there is this little note about native roses potentially in that medium, in the same graphic that Councillor Palfreyman was referring to. There isn't actually a specification about how often, like 10 meters typical native rose. I think there's something to be determined in the spring in terms of the scope of that. If we really were just like 10 meters in a rose bush and 10 meters in a rose bush, or what we're really talking about there. But in generally speaking, it's a grass spurge with potential to have native roses.
Could I?
And
Would
so
it,
we didn't look at putting a fence on it.
would you think of, would you look at or consider something like bollards where every X meters, there's a cement or steel bollard that might offer some protection from cars?
Yeah, I think in terms of protection from cars, like the curb rating and median at the speed there are all well more than sufficient from a safety perspective.
Got it,
You could do more, but certainly there's no question you could do more. It's just a cost, you know,
Right,
just a
okay.
cost. But in terms of the necessity, like the engineers have repeated numerous times to this question, there's going to be a high curb with 1 meter grass verge, and at 50 kilometers an hour, that's already in excess of what you'd be required to have.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Carver.
And just for comparison, I think of the grass verge or median on Pheasant Street, which I don't think is, well, I don't think it's a meter, maybe it is. And it's there, it feels safe, with 40 km/h traffic, which is often faster.
Well, there's a crosswalk there too that will be slowing people down as well. Correct? Like,
Yeah, in terms of the point of how you entered an urban area, there is a pedestrian crossing at Ketty's, so you will have gone through that. And then depending on whether there's
And
one
one
at
at
the
the
VIC,
VIC.
if there is one at the VIC, then that further,
right,
drives home.
slows down people.
So in respect to Councillor Palfreyman's comments, it's not perfect, but it's the best plan we've got at this point. It was a distancing
Okay.
the trail from the highway.
Call for
And I
minutes.
share concerns around the plans for the busing, the bus parking area, but it's facing the opposite direction from what we'd intuitively think where the buses to stop. So, and I'm not quite sure how we plan to address that, but it's a question. And the plan is not perfect, but it's what we have the possibilities to work with.
Call for minutes and then Wilson.
Well, with respect to Councillor Carver's comments, I don't think we can compare Pleasant Street and traffic with a provincial highway with large tractor trailers rolling along there. And the distracted drivers looking at all the scenery as they come around the bend there. As to the best this is the best we can do, I don't think it is. I think there is room to improve the safety of the public from the very, very narrow 1 meter gap. And it's not just traffic moving, encroaching on it, it's the fumes and the sound. This is supposed to be a pleasant experience walking along this trail. It's not if you are within 3 feet of heavy traffic and fumes and noise.
But all our streets are like that.
But
Like
this is,
where we
this is,
walk.
the trail is supposed to be, is it not a major attraction and feature for the town? Where you can walk on the water's edge. This is quite a bit different to transiting pavement on Main Street.
Well, I guess that's opinion.
Yeah, I can only see the safety elements, obviously,
yeah.
Brian's got some other points, but I did just want to mention with respect to Highway 3, to me, where you think of Highway 3 is Aberdeen Street as you enter Bridgewater, which is the same highway, which has even higher traffic, and it's Highway 3, and there isn't even a median, there's just a curb with sidewalk. In Chester, when Highway 3 enters Chester, you have a grass verge, 1 meter grass verge and a curb. That's what you have in Chester. So generally speaking, like there's nowhere else on Highway 3 where there's any more significant separate. Not to say it's not something that could be seen as desirable by some.
This is a water's edge. Beautiful sight, relaxing place to walk. It's not downtown city streets.
Okay, Councillor Wilson.
Well, this is ground we've plowed many times over the last several months. I think it's fair to say 2 things. One is that what we're going to have with this plan is at least 1,000 times better than what we have now, or we had 2 months ago. And I think it's also fair to say that in general, council is in favor of this plan. So I would like to move that council approve the Edgewater Street landscaping plan and direct staff to bring any needed change orders from Harvard Construction in relation to the plan for council's consideration.
Seconded by Councillor Carver. Okay, any further discussion? Kingsley.
I just have one question. Is there a plan to put a sort of a, how they have where the bike lane goes on one side of this? I mean, is it possible that, where they paint the white line? I can't articulate myself this morning, but paint the white line for bicycles on one side or something like that. And also, there is 3 meters of trail. So if somebody is really interested in the beauty aspect. I would verge towards the water as opposed to verging towards traffic, but I mean, is there a division being thought of for biking?
So
or-
to the, so typically a 3 meter trail like this has a center line.
Right,
And the center line represents the directional travel.
okay,
But since it's not busy, it has good visibility. If a cyclist is coming up behind a pedestrian and they're both traveling in the same direction, typically people treat it like a passing stretch where the bicyclist would pass on the other lane.
right,
So yeah, generally speaking, they're delineated, but they're not meant to
it's for
be
directional, okay,
just directional.
got it, thanks.
Okay, Councillor Buckingham?
Yes, well, you're asking us to approve, or being asked to approve a speculative piece of landscaping because there may be rose bushes and there may not be, and there may be a gap between and there may not be, as depicted on the plan. So we don't have a particular plan. This will all happen as it's determined to happen, depending upon public works and various other things down the road. So I'm not quite sure what was supposed to be actually approving.
Well, if that is an actual question, I can certainly speak to it. So as noted at the beginning and in the motion, this is enough of a landscaping plan to confirm any impact on harbor construction's plans. We would get change orders for any changes harbor construction needs to make to accommodate this. And that's gonna deal with all your concrete, positioning walkways, curbs, green space areas. The actual green spaces are being filled in after the fact, not by harbor. So the questions on things like rose bushes will presumably come between now and spring, and the plantings would occur in spring. So council will have those subsequent opportunities, but if we don't set the playing field with harbor as it comes down to like the civil works, then none of that would be. Kind of gotta come in stages to some extent.
Okay. Any other?
Could I ask for a recorded vote?
Sure, we have a recorded vote.
And you
Clerk,
gotta remember the order.
I'm first.
well, does the clerk call out
You don't
everyone?
use-
Oh, I do, okay.
That's why I turned to
So
you
it does-
before you asked.
Is it alphabetically,
Including you.
including me? Okay,
I need to post it for you.
yeah, I'm just looking to see. Wilson is last, right?
Always
Wilson and Toya will be.
issue a formal objection to this process.
We'll do it the other way around sometimes.
Toya,
Back to front.
Toya, Carver. Carver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Kaufman. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will call on Councillor Carver.
Sorry. My apologies, but I did get an answer on the restriction of the access to the trail to ATVs.
So I can quickly answer. I know we're going to the question. You're gonna find
Okay.
So, you know, it would be much the same as other trails where there's a width that has to be left open for accessibility.
Okay.
And we would restrict it. I'm not sure if that's a post in the middle or exactly. what
Okay,
it ends up
okay,
being
as
done.
long as there's
And it
something.
would be removable in case there's a need for public.
Sure,
works to provide that.
okay.
Okay, all right, we're going to the vote. Carver,
Yes.
yes? Kingsmill,
Yes,
Lonis Croft, yes. Paul Freeman,
No,
Toana,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
okay. The motion is passed. Thank you all. We will move on to staff report, item 7.4. The 2025-26 business plan, that is fresh off the press.
Yeah, so just say in this regard, as it notes at the beginning, this is our fifth business plan, so at this point, it's a fairly automatic function for staff to take everything in the strategic plan and budget and put it into this format. That being said, it's a new council, new strategic plan, and I think Eric's done a great job on the formatting of the document. Happy to take any questions. And we do this mostly for public education, so if there's a document people can reference.
Yep, Councillor Carter.
I have a couple of questions. One is that under the role of the CAO, I didn't get a sense of the CAO's role vis-a-vis the mayor, and I don't know if that
In the
is-
organizational chart?
Yeah, just in the
In the section of
responsibilities, yeah,
CAO responsibilities, yeah.
Okay,
in the core mandates.
Yeah,
okay.
So that was one, and then page 14 in the town, page 14. Page 14, well, 14. Oh, yes, the housing planning and permitting section. There's something wonky about the first bullet, develop and housing and development.
oh, let me scroll down there, just making the note on the
Okay.
CAO item first.
Just page 14, is that? Oh, you're. And the same problem comes up under the deputy CAO for the comparable section.
Yeah, it'll just.
So it's just a
Copy,
wording
paste issue.
is needed there.
Yeah, I see that, thank you.
And then the CAO still, the other managers, the deputy CAO and other manager has a primary point of contact, but there isn't a similar section for the CAO. So I'm wondering what the CAO is a primary point of contact for.
Yes, I think it's always kind of like exhaustive, so if it's not someone else, it's me. But we could probably add a little bit of detail there, that wouldn't be difficult.
But, so structurally, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And it might answer the question that I have sometimes about to whom to address an email. Who's responsible for this?
Right.
And it's sometimes not clear.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. And if you guys are okay with, because these are relatively minor changes, if these were the only changes, having them be as approved as amended, because I think Dorothy's out with it, comes back around.
Mhm.
I really appreciate seeing it all.
I know, yeah, I was,
great.
yeah, it was good reading. I just wonder if we should, some of you probably may not like a hard copy. I'd love to have a hard copy of
Yeah,
the finished product.
Yeah, well, Kelly, do you mind noting, because it would be good to have a couple on hand here as well, routine access.
I'd love one too, Kelly.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But
Yes,
before you start printing, I'll get Eric to make these.
oh, yeah,
We talked about.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Okay, would anyone like to approve
Also,
this as amended?
as a-
Counselor Carver, seconder,
second.
by Counselor Kingsmill. Any further questions? Okay, all those in favor, signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you.
all the work that.
Yeah,
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 Well
no,
done.
it's well done. Where are you, Eric?
He's busy, I guess.
Okay,
But no, I do appreciate that. It was my first internship when I was in public admin and master's program, was to look at the business planning that the province did and try to standardize some of their business planning that was relatively new to them 20 years ago. And not that many municipalities produce them, but it is just a great thing if we can take the time to do. So
Mhm.
anyway, I appreciate those things.
Mhm. And Kelly, if I could have an extra copy of it for in my office for just. Anyone needs a quick look, they'll know they can grab it there. Here. All right, going on to 7.5, equipment charges bylaw, the CAO, I think you're going to speak to that.
Yeah, this isn't coming out of left field, but as a approach and as a reference to legislation, it might be a little bit new. So we have previously reported to council a few times about the cross connection control program. And we were looking at, how is this enforced, and the fact that cutting off water is a difficult thing, something we don't generally want to do. And if people are genuinely struggling with compliance for financial reasons, one mechanism the town could consider is financing that work. However, we would need a mechanism to do so to ensure that it was fair and that they did eventually pay it off and that it didn't come at the expense of other ratepayers in town and everything else. So not having all the answers to that, there is a mechanism in the MGA that has been used by the units for various things. Generally not this. This is not, generally speaking, what this has been used for, and I don't have a specific example where it has been used for something like this. But water system components is definitely something that's understood there. typically, municipal units have funded private property owners to drill wells, for example, in a place where municipal water supply might not be available. And in that case, this type of a bylaw was a mechanism we used to do that, so. Happy to take questions to the motion, here's only referred policy strategy, so obviously we could have more discussion of that.
Councilor Carter.
So the report says that the people who've expressed concerns are commercial and institutional customers. So I have two questions. What is the cost that they're facing, and are private property owners expressing concern about requirements?
Yeah, I wonder how it's written there. What it should certainly be indicating is that everyone has expressed, lots of people, not everyone, lots of people jump right on and have done it, but a fair number of both residential and institutional and some commercial have expressed the challenge with the cost. As to the cost, in an individual case, it can range from just $100 or $200, depending on how easy to access your plumbing is at the location where you need to install the device, to possibly a couple of $1,000s for some of the larger institutional or commercial customers, especially if they have larger connections or multiple connection points. I think the Mahone Center has both, so certainly there can be some challenges, and some of the older connections are in difficult to reach areas, and there may be some concrete work, there may be some carpentry work, just things that might have to be done. So it certainly could represent a slightly more material amount for like nonprofit institutions in particular.
I thought this was originally like grandfathered in, like it was for new builds, but it's for everybody.
You mean the notion of having to put in the
Yeah.
cross connection control?
The others
It
were
certainly
just
is
recommended.
mandatory, going forward, it is mandatory.
Yes,
And it is mandatory that we get compliance from the commercial institutional sector.
yes,
It is not currently mandatory that we get compliance from all residents,
right.
although certainly, desirable. And it also protects a substantial
To their
benefit to the resident, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Why the difference?
Why is it not required?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to do with what is presumed to be the potential risk to the rest of the system, because it protects you as an individual from having your devices, the hot water heater drained, in the case of system outage, but it also protects the rest of the system. And this is why it's mandatory, from drawing water back in from within a private building. And so typically, residential is considered to have lower risk as to what that water might contain. Now, that being said, multi-unit residential, older ones, almost always have substantial lead fixtures within the building. And so that water that gets drawn back into the public system could be contaminated with lead. We don't have very many older multi-units here in town, but it's something to think about.
Okay. One of the things I've heard from municipalities when you offer a program like this is, if you have a customer who doesn't regularly pay their tax bill or their utility bills, why would you set up a program like this? Because they probably won't pay for this on their bill. I know we got into that with the wells when I was an MLA. There are municipalities that said no, because the people who will take up on this are the people who have outstanding bills now. So.
Yeah, now outstanding water bills isn't really a
Be a
challenge,
credit
because
check,
you
sure.
do get turned, well, and that's referenced in here, whether you do credit checks, one of the questions.
Yeah.
Bridgewater doesn't do credit checks, other municipalities, many of them do.
Mhm.
And it's a question, an equity question for council to discuss. But yeah, I did want to note that this, in terms of water utility customers, you can't really go, you could struggle to pay, but of course you can't fall very far in arrears on water before you do get cut off. This is a town tax issue, if money was lent, not a utility billing issue. So the mechanism for collection, just so that everybody understands, would become the tax mechanism for collection, which is to say, if you fall too far behind on your tax bill, then the property would be listed for tax sale. So that does essentially mean that if you fail to make these payments, your property gets listed for tax sale. So that's the mechanism for collection here. But I don't disagree that there's still challenges around collection.
Okay. Councilor Carver.
I think the CAO may have just answered my question, which was what are the alternatives to cutting off the water? I mean, could we start charging could you install it in the same way that if there's a danger to the community, the town will remove branches or trees if they're dangerous. Does the town have the right to just willy-nilly install the equipment in this case? And bill back or have a lien on the property, is that possible? And or charging interest on whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, so what we would do under normal circumstances without this program is if someone fails to comply with installing the device, their water would be turned off until they comply with installing the device. In this case, what you'd be able to say is, we're turning your water off until you agree to have us perform this work and then bill you for the work, which at least creates a mechanism for people who can't afford it.
Right, but we don't want to turn the water off to the nursing home or to other institutions. We just do. We just said what?
Well, I think the presumption is the nursing home would come up with the money for that. They should already have, I think they already do. They're not a good example.
Okay, personally, I don't like the idea of turning water off. It's.
And that's definitely why this program is being brought up, because essentially there would no longer be any need to turn the water off. You would just simply complete the work and then bill them for the work.
Councilor Wilson.
Well, since the motion is just to refer this to policy for
right.
discussion.
Okay.
Let me make that motion, the council.
I'll second it. Oh, sorry. Finish the motion.
Okay, the motion
I'll
made by
second.
Councilor Wilson, second by Councilor Kingsmill. I think we're ready for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay.
And feel free to email questions between now and then so that
The
we're
motion
ready to
is
jump
carried.
in.
Yeah. Okay. All right, 7.6, staff report deferred revenue application, okay.
This is another one that I think needs just a tiny bit of a reminder for council members, because this has all been discussed before. But we did do a general rate application now over 2 years ago. And at the time, the Utility Review Board, which is now the Nova Scotia Energy Board, essentially deferred a portion of our requested revenue because they felt that that would be too much rate shock to have take effect at the time. And they indicated clearly that the town was welcome and, nay, expected to come back at some point to recover that revenue. So, essentially, this is the quick summary of what that application would entail. And then if council directs, the finance department would put the actual application together. To get very specific with these numbers will require about $8,000 of work in terms of legal and consulting. And that's based on experience doing the same thing for Riverport, which costs about $12,000. So we think we've probably saved about $4,000 relatively speaking, because we've done it once.
Okay, Councilor Wilson?
The only question I have is will the $8,000 be added to the 173?
Nope, that's the price of the UARB providing oversight, as they provided to many times.
I'm happy to move the motion.
Okay.
Council direct staff to apply the notes and SED to recover the deferred electrical utility revenue from the town's previous GRA in the amount of $173,613.
I'll second that after you finish the sentence.
Mill, okay, seconded. Any discussion, questions? No? Okay, being none, all those in favor signify aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Did you abstain, Councillor Copeland?
No.
Oh, okay, all right. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Okay.
Yeah.
7.7, Remo Advisory Committee.
Yeah, this is a slightly weird way that this came in, so we
Yes.
put it under staff report, technically a letter from Tom McEwen telling you what you would already know if you were at the Remo meeting, that we could come back and talk about facilitation. So I guess I decided there was no need for a third cover letter introducing Tom's cover to Angela's original comment. So what we're looking at here is whether our council supports not really the engagement of the facilitator per se, but the participation of our members in a facilitated process, reviewing the governance model for Remo. So I think the reason that I just wanted to emphasize this was coming around had less to do with the financial authorization to hire a facilitator, which Angela could really do, but more to do with the idea of everyone buying into a facilitated process. I can't imagine we wouldn't, but that's what they're looking for everyone by resolution to confirm.
I'd be
Um,
happy to make such a resolution.
Okay, Councillor Carver. Is there a seconder?
Sure, I'll second again.
Okay.
Sure.
Councillor Kingsman. Any further discussion? Okay, being none, I'm calling for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you.
Kelly, will you make sure Angela gets that? I think they're kind of agree.
Do we, need a motion? We did not do any motion for 7.1. I don't think, we just did,
It's nice to get a motion to accept, you don't have to.
okay,
I'll make a motion to accept.
all the staff reports?
Yes.
Okay,
That's,
and second by Council Wilson. Okay, all those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you. Council items, there are none. Oh, I think you're under new business, are
Well,
you?
it's up to you.
Well,
Oh,
this is something different.
Oh, okay,
Because I was out of the room for the very final minutes of the presentation under 5.2, the community land co-op
yes,
presentation. I'm not aware that there was any disposition or any motion or discussion about, and I wondered whether it would be appropriate to make a motion to refer the request to the Policy and Strategy Committee.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I was just gonna say that typically, when there's a presentation under new business, somebody will give a notice of motion for the next meeting. Motion to put an item on the agenda of a committee is probably an order within council items in any case. So I do think you could make that motion. At least that's my,
Okay.
the chair ultimately gets to decide, but
sure.
I don't think it would be out of order to make that motion.
In which case I would like to move that council refer the request of the Mahone Bay Community Land Cooperative to the Policy and Strategy Committee in September, for discussion in September.
Is that gonna give them enough time to reach some of those deadlines?
I can't necessarily speak on there, and what I was gonna say is that I will have heard back from Gemtech, like I have, as Dean indicated, I have put a question to Gemtech about the delineation of the area. So I'll have heard back from that, maybe I'll have heard back quite a bit sooner, in which case, you know, maybe waiting until policy and strategy would be less than timely for the cooperative. I can't really.
There were
speak-
some specific dates for
He did
applying for
speak with some
grants,
dates.
and I'm just wondering, I think some of this stuff needs faster
Yeah,
tracking,
it'd be
so,
very tight.
yeah, I'm just,
See the dates.
did you have a copy of this presentation?
Yeah.
There was one of the,
Next steps.
yes,
Q4 2025 secure land and council resolution. So it might be okay, actually. That's, and then Q1 2026 is submit pre-development funding applications. So
okay,
it sounds like it,
September 22nd is the Policy and Strategy.
right,
Like, even if things fall into
And-
place sooner, we can always revisit. I think the motion to refer to the committee is fine. I'll get Gemtech's response, talk to Dean about it, and by the time you guys would get there, either something would, you know, need to be discussed, or we'd have time.
the timing seems okay, because it does say secure land and council resolution in Q4, so October, November, December.
okay.
And then Q1 2026 is submit pre-development, so I think we're okay.
So if the Policy and Strategy is September 22nd, then the next council meeting is September 25th.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the only thing that might come up in terms of expediency is the 25th would normally not be when the policy and strategy would normally report to, but you guys can always just add it as a council item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, Councilor.
No.
No, just,
You need a seconder for the motion.
oh,
Now that it's ruled to be in order.
Well, I'll second it.
okay, second by Councilor Kingsville, Councilor Poplar.
But just might add some depth to the discussion, to have some type of valuation of what from a market point of view, the land is worth.
Yeah, we.
Did we do that? It's a long time ago.
We did, we valued the existing building across the way.
Turn and Drake took a look at
Did we
that.
do the vacant lot? Yeah, I'll see if I can dig it up, but at this point, it's probably pretty out of date, but I can at least circulate what we have. Yeah, I can't quite recall what we had on there.
Okay,
From the letter.
any other questions? Discussion, okay, calling for the question. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. And then we move down to committee reports. There's the Lunenburg County Senior Safety Program, the reports of June 2025 and July of 2025. And are there any questions on those? I'll just say that we've been active, but we usually take off over the summer. We haven't been meeting, but the coordinator is very busy with cases, but we've also been making visits to the local MLAs, a group of us, about funding and asking for possibly funding that would help cover another coordinator or someone to assist the current one. And also just because the heavy workload that is happening and the need and the complexities of the work that our coordinator is doing is so time consuming. And dangerous work too, very dangerous work. Often she can't even go inside. Often she has to be accompanied by police services before going into a situation. So I think, but the job has become so complex, and so we have been meeting with, we've met already with MLA Barcos and MLA Cork and Greek, very positive meetings, and we will meet with Minister Durham in September. So we have dates. So they've been well planned meetings. So anyway, other than that, that's different. And then Social Open Doors Association monthly report. Those are always interesting to note. And 9.4, Police Advisory Board draft minutes of July 31st, 2025. How come we
You're
have the
first.
draft minutes? Yeah.
I just have a question about the provincial appointee whose role I understand has come to an end, the appointment.
Yes.
And will there be a plan to appoint somebody, have somebody new appointed? Or are we waiting until the status of the regional advisory board is clarified?
So a community member has applied to the province to fill that role,
All
but
right,
historically it's taken the province
a long time.
a long time
okay,
to make that appointment.
right,
So that's,
right, okay. And what is the status of the discussion around the regional advisory board?
Do you want to know how I spent my day?
minutes.
Do you know how
The mayor laughed.
CAO and I spent our day yesterday in Halifax? The minister cut the meeting short, and we, rather than having 2 hours of questions, we had 20 minutes. Not to say people were disappointed is very mild. People were, I mean, there are many municipalities who are on the edge whether they'll be able to continue with their municipal services, policing services and RCMP services. We know no more going into that meeting than we did before. It was very disappointing. Yes.
And not at all to undercut that, but just to the idea of the local, whether there's a regional advisory group. If it's not already raised for mayor's wardens that's coming up in September, we should probably ask that it be on the agenda.
Yeah, that's true. You've been asked for the items for the
Yeah,
agenda for that.
just trying to see what.
That's a good one. It was very disappointing. People had traveled from Cape Breton and Yarmouth, Mahone Bay.
Yeah.
You know, some people took the day off work specifically to have that opportunity. This is, you know, this really has a lot to do with people's budget and people's safety and, you know, the communities. It was very disappointing.
And it also has to do with where decisions are being made. And this is another example where the decision is being made at the provincial level, very similar to what happened with the REMO, in the whole discussion of the emergency planning and the regional emergency manager here, as all of them across the province, were asked to comment on extensive documentation not having seen it until they arrived at the meeting.
Mhm.
I mean,
That's been
it's-
happening a lot.
It's, yes.
Council talking.
Are these concerns being made known to the provincial authorities?
The minister was spoken to quite harshly by some people in attendance who had taken off work and were there. Now, how far up that goes up the chain,
Or
I don't know, but I'm sure the chair and the vice chair will have a plan for communicating the disappointment of people and going forward. The same thing happened with the fire services survey. Everything there, the mayors have addressed that in this area. They have sent a letter to because we got notice on the day before the meeting. Most of us had already full calendars that day, could not attend. And I know I couldn't attend the virtual ones. They weren't on, they didn't align with my schedule. So I've been waiting personally, and I talked to staff at the department about how concerned I was about the regional firefighting and our future and sustainability, and how interested I was in this study. And I found out half a day before the meeting, and so there has been a very strong letter that went in for that. But it seems to be a pattern with the current government, lack of communication with notifications for meetings and stuff. Because a lot of people work and are sit on councils too. They just can't rearrange their schedules that quickly.
And on the fire services, because I did catch the final virtual session.
Right.
And I had been at the in-person one in Lunenburg, and to hear the consultants in Lunenburg, they told us the province hired them in July with a mandate to finish their consultations by the end of August, which right off means there couldn't have been advertising, the participation's gonna be very low, etc. When we had the final virtual call, they summarized the number of sessions they've held. And so when it gets reported, it will be, we've held 70 sessions across the province to provide ample opportunity for consultation. Well, the sessions I attended were very sparsely attended due to the lack of notice, due to being in summer. I think this is one of those things where the smoke and mirrors of it all will appear that a big process was carried out and was resourced, and ultimately I completely agree that process didn't serve to really collect the feedback.
And that's what we heard yesterday. Oh, we did all this consultation, and people were like, well, no one's consulted our council, no one's consulted, there are people who've been waiting for consultation. Yeah.
Rather like the Traffic Safety Act.
Yeah.
Piece, which was going to be a whole consultation process, and it just crashed.
And they've even that one noted that some of the email notifications didn't reach everyone and people missed sessions, so then they said they'd reschedule, they didn't, so yeah, so.
Councillor Kingston?
I just had a question on on these meetings, the police advisory board. Is the public allowed to sit in on those, or is it?
There's Zooms that we normally Zooms
Is it-
are open meetings,
Oh,
we
they're just-
could, if someone came in here and I was doing a Zoom from here, they
I
could
see.
be,
Okay,
sit in on it, but I mean, you don't give out any Zoom meeting,
Right.
The province does often have consultations directly for the public,
Yeah.
separate from the stream for municipal leaders, but not always.
I see.
Yeah,
Councillor Copeland?
so the
Call.
the minutes are very sparse, shall we put it that way? There's not much information in them,
Right,
and I'd like to see more information in them because I have no idea what's going on.
yeah, what I think you may be interested in is getting a copy of the statistics we get prior to our meeting.
And
Because
those usually do go on the next council agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, we had some issues with the RCMP in forwarding a report that
We
was.
still do, the
Clear
report
release.
was received at the last meeting,
Yeah.
the same report from the week before, but it's
Yeah.
already been received and published on the website.
Yeah. So
We don't have.
those are very interesting, Ryan, to read, because they'll say how many calls there were to like the different areas and what were the top crimes and reductions and increases in some of the
Right.
issues.
So you're saying those reports are on the
They have come in the minute packages
If you wanted to see
Yeah.
them all in one spot on
Yeah.
our website under Town Hall Emergency Services, all the reports we received are there.
Oh, emergency services,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Councillor
But
Carr,
if those reports, could they be attached to the minutes in our council package?
They are. They just weren't with this one because there wasn't a new report.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
already been received.
But
by
they
council.
usually are, okay.
we have a new
Okay.
sergeant,
Had some
new staff
names.
sergeant, and he wasn't, somebody was on vacation, he didn't get quite the,
Okay.
what our regular routine was when he was putting his stuff together, so. Going forward, I think that will clear up, because it did come up, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm curious, I was just thinking back to the point about like technically being available to the public. During COVID, we posted the agendas that people could contact us to join. And technically speaking, I think that should still be listed on these minutes. I assume it's
Oh,
just.
before the committee meetings.
Yeah, just to join
Yeah,
the
yeah.
stream.
Yeah,
I just know
Because
some
you
people are
allowed
interested
to,
in this
you are
topic.
allowed to, but if it's not said on the bottom of the agenda, how you would do
Yeah.
that, then you're not, yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, so it took me a second to get around your question. I was just thinking of provincial consultations rather than our specific committees.
Oh, no,
Our
our-
committees
our-
are open to the public, even if they're not in person, so yeah. they're
Great.
definitely up for it.
okay,
Thanks.
all right. Being none, would anyone like to make a motion to accept and file the committee reports?
The draft
Yeah,
minutes, it's just the draft
Yeah.
minutes, there's no motion.
Councillor Paulson made the motion, is there a second?
Sure.
Councillor Kingsman, thank you. All those in favor signify aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is carried. New business. Ta-da! Can I be Vanna?
It was suggested as an
Oh.
opportunity to have our paint conversations.
Yeah, our paint conversation.
Are we doing this by secret ballot?
We could sing, one of these colors doesn't belong. Anyway, these,
So the board is the color of the base wall,
Yes.
so that you could get a direct sense of how the different colors look.
And are they like 1, 2, 3, 4, and we vote, or what? Is
I
that,
guess that's the question. I mean, when
We
Penny
need-
saw
we
it,
need
she
little
said she had a
stickies
strong
above
opinion. And based on our prior discussions, I feel like if Penny shared her strong opinion, that might influence the discussions. If you want to do it by secret ballot or not, that's up to you.
yeah, anyway, these are the colors. We've tried ones already, people seem to not like the color that is there right now, so maybe a sticker thing could be like a post-it note that we could put on, or are we
You just say
Uh,
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4?
So just for the public,
Yes,
the only area that we're talking about is the decorative strips of shingles on the front tower.
yes,
That would be
the
the only,
wavy,
yeah,
the
that-
wavy one.
the wavy ones, yeah.
and which one was not liked by so
Do you
far?
really wanna know which one it is? No, we're not gonna tell you.
One
I know which one it
These
is.
is the current color
Yeah.
that's often like.
Oh, okay.
One with the-
And in my view, it's the equivalent of powder pink. It's powder, it's just kind of a non-color.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think I've already lost.
This is the color, I would say, of my sweater I wore, that everyone says, that color, but that's the only thing I'll tell you. This,
Do we wanna do this by secret ballot?
No,
or,
No.
no,
No.
okay,
Just point and we'll vote.
okay, this is, we'll go by 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. Number 1. Number 2. Number 3.
3 or 4, I don't care.
4 is what's already there, and you don't like it.
4 is there now.
No, 3.
4,
3's there.
The first one.
oh,
is what's-
first one's
The
there.
first one.
The first
this one is the one that's there.
Yeah.
Oh,
very different.
it was this way yesterday when I came in, that's what,
Ah,
then it was.
Number 3 just won.
3.
Three's really seems to be the favorite.
They're gonna look different outside though too.
Well.
Well, that's what
Yeah, so
painted
this is
it on
all
the
on
board.
these, so it's as close as we could get.
Oh.
I mean, you can go, I visit if you want to afterwards.
Yeah,
Number 3 won.
number 3,
Yes.
Done.
Done.
All right,
okay,
thanks everyone.
thank you.
Oh, that was
I'll
a-
leave it out here.
Put it in your office as a memorial.
But are you happy with number 3?
This section of the council meeting was brought to you by Sesame Street. Okay, yes, Councilor Warner.
So, some of the residents reached out about the Jubilee Playground, the tiny tots.
Right.
With the detour of traffic that goes past the pharmacy and up that way, there's, well, kids have it, so they were hoping that maybe we might be able to put a latch gate on the park. Just to prevent some of the kids from.
Which I don't think we really see as specific with traffic, it's just an interesting suggestion, I think sometimes these things suffer from having always been the way they've always been.
Yeah.
So I grew up in there without a gate running around, and it didn't occur to me bringing my son and having him running around that, I'd actually really appreciate a gate, so.
Yeah.
We have requested a quote since you brought this up, and then depending on the cost of that, it will come for approval or be just something that could be handled out of general maintenance for the park.
Easy.
Thank you.
Would someone like a motion on that now, so that we could
There's
not
new
have to
business
wait?
anyway, so
Oh.
it would just be a notice of motion.
Okay,
I
a
mean,
notice
by
of
the
motion.
next meeting, you'll know, like, we can send you an email, so if you wanna add an item to make a, we're voting on the price based on the price, we can do that next meeting. if you want. You don't have
Okay.
to do it now.
All right, good. All right,
I
we,
just wanted to note with closed session,
yeah,
it has been suggested that the grounds for closed session should probably be extended to include legal and property, just for 2 quick points. So whoever's making it, if you wanna cite those in addition to contract negotiations.
okay, and I don't know what number that is, so,
Well, you don't have to cite all the letters.
okay, all right. So, I will accept a motion to go into,
Questions or comments?
oh, any questions? How many people are tuned in and
No questions, 11 watching.
11 watching? Well, thank you for watching.
Sunday.
So we're going into closed session. Item 12.1 MGA and legal, which are contract negotiations, and also 12 point whatever, which is legal
Property.
and property.
So move.
Moved by Councillor Carver,
Hi, everybody.
second by who?
I can second it.
Wilson, okay. Okay, and I thank you for tuning in, all those on YouTube, and